Prologue. What was lost? Before the flames, there was silence. Before the silence, there was a bond, born not from fate, but choice. Kaelin Thorn, exile and heir, and Lyra, flame-touched sorceress of the Wormwood, rekindled their connection in the heart of a dying world. Together, they defied the hollow flame, a monstrous entity that fed on forgotten love and fractured time. Their union reshaped the broken realm into a world of memory, a dreamscape of perfect skies and still cities, built from emotion, sealed by devotion. But all magic bears cost. The realm was never meant to last. The forgotten stirred. Ancient gods, the keepers, warned them. Others would come, and one did. Kaelin's brother, alive, changed, and not alone. Now, love must become a weapon again. Kaelin hadn't moved since the word of brother left the stranger's mouth. The man who stood in the shattered corridor of the Echo Citadel was a mirror of Kaelin, older, perhaps, or more worn by bitterness than time. His armor gleamed with crimson flame etched in golden veins. At his back was a great sword forged from obsidian and chained soulfire. And his eyes, Kaelin knew those eyes. They belonged to Darius Thorn, a prince once thought dead. Darius, Kaelin whispered, like a curse spoken through a prayer. You never bothered to look for me, Darius said. You just assumed the fire took me, that I died screaming in the ash. Kaelin stepped forward. We were told you fell in the siege of Frostmere. We saw your blade buried in the wall. Left behind, Darius snapped, just like I was. Lyra placed a hand on Kaelin's shoulder, her voice calm but cold. What do you want, Darius? I want our kingdom back, he said. The real one. Not this dream. This world you two conjured from love and guilt. He stepped into the chamber, and with each footfall the air rippled, his magic radiating heat and rage. You can't hold it, he continued. The forgotten are coming. The keepers are watching. And you're still acting like this is a story that ends in happily ever after. Kaelin raised his sword. So what? You'll tear it all down? No, Darius said, drawing his own blade. I'll wake it up. Darius struck first. Not with steel, but with sound. A wave of force shattered the war chamber's walls. The Oracle of Fire screamed as flame surged through her veins, her final prophecy burning from her lips. He bears the brand of the godless flame. The thorn shall split, one to save, one to ruin. Then she was gone, dissolved into cinders. Kaelin and Lyra were thrown back as Darius vanished into a portal of blood-red light, leaving behind only a scorch mark shaped like a dragon's eye. Outside the citadel, the world cracked. The sky, the dream sky, split, revealing streaks of the true world beyond. A war-torn continent, a broken sun, 1,000 cracks in the veil. Reality was waking up, and so were the forgotten. 2 weeks passed. Kaelin and Lyra retreated deep into the Whispering Mountains, seeking what few allies still existed in this memory-made realm. The cities were beginning to fade, their illusions peeling away. Some citizens, shaped from emotion and fragments of the past, were waking up to realize they had never truly lived. And they were angry. Some wept. Others turned violent. Worse still, Darius had begun to recruit them. he offered them a truth Kaelin could not: permanence. "If you follow me," his message said, broadcast through flickering flames, "you will become real. You will walk in the waking world again." And some believed him. Kaelin stood before the Emberheart Forge, an ancient site hidden beneath the mountain where fire mages once shaped magic into weapons that could cleave between realms. Lyra traced the sigils on the stone. "We can use this. The Keepers sealed it, but your blood, your lineage can awaken it." Kaelin hesitated. What if Darius is right? What if this world is a lie? She turned to him, fire dancing behind her eyes. "Then we burn the lie and build something better, together." They pressed their palms to the forge. The mountain screamed. Flame erupted. Magic surged, and the forge opened. From its heart rose a blade not made of steel, but memory and vow. "This is your sword now," the forge whispered. "It will not strike for war, but for truth." Kaelin took it, and far to the east, Darius felt it awaken. Chapter 5. The Sleeping Throne. Arendor wasn't the only realm shaped by the hollow flame. In the early days, before Kaelin and Lyra's magic rewove it, fragments of reality had splintered. Dream kingdoms, half-born, scattered across the border between sleep and waking. Some were cities of eternal dusk, where time didn't flow, and memory looped like music. Others were nightmares made flesh, wounds in the world where grief took shape and screamed. These places were waking now, and their rulers, once forgotten, were remembering their thrones. In the dream spire of Virelia, a queen wrapped in moonlight opened her eyes. In the sunken labyrinths of Thren, creatures that looked like men but wept salt instead of blood tore free from their glass prisons. And in the fortress of black mirrors, a lord of chains whispered, "Darius Thorn walks again." Kaelin and Lyra traveled north, across the ash-glass expanse toward a kingdom called Elendor, once ruled by Kaelin's great-grandmother. There, in the shattered halls of the bannerless court, gathered those who refused allegiance to either god or king. These were mages and mercenaries, exiles and seers, people who had survived the death of the old world and the birth of the dream. They had no flag, but they had cause. Led by a woman known only as Marrow, a former flamebinder turned rogue, the bannerless agreed to listen to Kaelin's call, but not follow him blindly. "You burned the world once, Thorn," Marrow said, flame-forged blades crossed behind her back. "Why should we let you hold the torch again?" Kaelin unsheathed the memory-forged blade he'd drawn from the Emberheart Forge. It flickered with scenes: his past, Lyra's sacrifice, Darius's betrayal. "I'm not here to burn anything," he said. "I'm here to end the war before it starts." To win, they needed allies. Lyra reached out to the Keepers, the ancient forces that governed balance between dreams and waking. She summoned them through the ritual of the kindling, offered her blood and her bond with Kaelin as payment. Only one came: Veril, Keeper of Twilight Paths. A shifting, godlike being cloaked in stardust and shadow. Its face was always changing, a reflection of whoever looked upon it. "You've broken the balance," it said. "You've turned love into a weapon." Lyra stood tall. "Then teach us to wield it." Veril stared into her soul. Very well. But love, once turned, does not return whole. It remembers blood, and it remembers betrayal. It lifted a hand, and a star map appeared between them. At its center, the cradle of flame, a place neither real nor imagined, the source of the hollow flame, the birthplace of the first fire, and the final key to restoring or unmaking reality. There, Vaerl whispered, that is where this war ends. Meanwhile, Darius moved through the waking realms with growing force. His army now included not just forgotten and broken souls, but crownless, beings stripped of their kingdoms when the world fractured. Some were old kings turned to stone. Others were wolves who once wore the faces of men. They followed Darius because he offered them what Kaelin could not: a return. Return to power. Return to flesh. Return to the old ways. Among them, the Witch King Vaelros, master of bone storms, Queen Sorel the Glassbound, whose words could shatter cities, and the Pale Twins, assassins born from a dead god's dream. They called themselves the Scorchborn Host. And they marched. Kaelin, Lyra, and the Bannerless reached the edge of the Cradle of Flame. But Darius was already there. The two armies stared across a plain of obsidian ash. A storm of magic twisted above them, formed from love, memory, grief, and fire. A storm that could rewrite the world. Kaelin turned to Lyra. No more dreams. No more running, she said. Then the sky cracked, and the first arrow flew. The first arrow didn't come from Darius. It came from the sky. A streak of white fire split the clouds above the Cradle of Flame, tearing through the storm of memory and magic like a god's scream. It struck the obsidian plain between the armies, exploding into a shockwave that knocked soldiers from their feet, shattered the air into fragments of reality, and left a single mark scorched into the earth. Not a sigil, a warning. Kaelin rose slowly, ash clinging to his shoulders, eyes locked on the smoke curling from the crater. That wasn't his doing, he said. That was something else. Lyra stood beside him, expression pale, lips pressed thin. The keepers? No. A new voice cut across the field. Marrow stepped forward, armor smoking, her curved daggers drawn. That was the Sunborn. Kaelin turned to her. Their myth. Everything's a myth until it wakes up angry, Marrow replied, eyes scanning the far side of the field where Darius's army began to regroup. And they're watching. Whoever wins this fight inherits a world they want no part of. Darius stepped onto the edge of the crater, arms outstretched, his crimson cloak catching the wind like a banner. "Brothers and sisters," he called, voice echoing across the field, unnatural and amplified. You see, the sky itself recognizes what's coming. You can cling to the past, to broken dreams and fading love, or you can stand with me and take your place in the world to come. A murmur rippled through Kaelin's ranks, even among the bannerless. Kaelin knew what he had to do. He stepped forward and answered. I've walked through ash, through dreams, through a world made from pain and a love I barely deserved. I've seen what happens when memory replaces truth, and I won't lie to you. He pointed his sword toward the cradle, now pulsing like a heart beneath the earth. This place? It's not salvation. It's not a throne. It's a choice. Lyra joined him, flame spiraling from her palms. And we choose now, not the past, not what we lost. We choose to burn forward. A silence settled. Then, Marrow lifted her blades. The bannerless roared. The storm split open, and the war began. The battle for the cradle was not fought with lines and formations. It was chaos woven through magic and memory. The forgotten surged forward, a tide of shadows with teeth. The crownless charged, hurling curses and blades that howled like lost souls. Kaelin fought through them like fire made flesh, the Emberheart sword glowing brighter with every heartbeat. Lyra moved beside him, wielding twin flames of dream and waking, immolating creatures born from broken thoughts. Marrow struck like a hurricane, dancing through spells and steel, blades humming with ancient binding runes. But the tide turned when the pale twins appeared. They moved like mirrors, one dressed in white silk, the other in ink-black leather. Their movements were poetry and violence. One struck Kaelin's blade aside with a single touch. The other whispered in Lyra's ear, and she froze. "You dream of a child," the white twin said, circling her, "a future that will never be." "No," Lyra whispered, "you don't know me." "But we are you," said the black twin, "what you buried, what you gave up." Kaelin drove his blade between them, severing the link. "Stay out of her head," he growled. The twins smiled, then vanished into smoke. At the battle's peak, Kaelin reached the edge of the cradle, just as Darius did. The brothers faced each other, breath ragged, magic flickering around them like stormlight. Darius raised his sword. "You still don't get it, do you?" "I don't need to," Kaelin said, leveling his own blade. "I just need to end this." Their swords clashed, and the cradle opened. They weren't on the battlefield anymore. Kaelin and Darius stood in a place without time, inside the cradle itself, a realm of raw creation, of beginnings. They stood on a bridge made of fire over a sea of stars. Memories bloomed around them, flickering images drawn from their past. Their mother, holding them both. Their father, casting his crown into the fire. Lyra, dying in the snow. The hollow flame, whispering lies. And something else. A third presence. The first flame. It spoke without words. It showed them a truth. They were never meant to rule. Not one of them. The flame belonged to another. Someone yet to come. Darius reeled. "Number this is ours. This power, this world. We bled for it." Kaelin lowered his blade. "Then maybe we bled for the wrong reasons." Darius roared, slashing at the bridge, and the cradle shattered. They fell, back into the battlefield, back into war, back into flame. But something followed them, a light, pure, unclaimed, unbound. Lyra saw it first, and it chose her. She rose, eyes glowing gold white, her body wrapped in phoenix flame. Not a weapon, a beacon. Kaelin reached for her, and the world exploded in light. Chapter 12. Phoenix-born. The light took her. It wasn't heat, it was remaking. The flames didn't consume Lyra, they clarified her, pulled every shattered shard of her spirit from the wreckage of memory and sorrow and shaped it into something new, something divine. She hovered above the battlefield, her cloak of fire unfurling into massive wings of gold and white, her voice no longer just hers, but a song sung across stars. Kalen staggered to his knees, eyes wide, heart torn between awe and dread. Lyra. She looked at him, and for a breathless second she smiled, soft and human, and still her. "I'm still me," she whispered, voice echoing in his mind. "But something greater is awake now. The first flame didn't belong to either of you, because it chose me." Below them, the fighting stilled. Even the Scorchborn host stopped mid-charge, gazing up in horrified wonder. Darius, blood on his blade, shook his head. "Number. That power was mine. Ours. You stole it." "I didn't steal anything," she said, descending slowly, her feet brushing the cracked earth. "I answered it." She held out a hand to him. "Let go, Darius. This doesn't have to end in ruin." He stared at her hand, and for a breath, something in him hesitated. Then he slashed at her. The blade stopped inches from her skin and shattered. Lyra didn't flinch. She turned to Kalen. "The world isn't ending, but the dream is. We need to leave this realm, let it collapse, and find the place we came from, the true world." Kalen rose beside her. "The way back?" She pointed to the sky. The sun, the real sun, had cracked through the dream sky above, like an eye reopening. A portal burned open in the clouds, a doorway back to the waking world. Kalen gripped her hand, and together they ran. Behind them, the battlefield disintegrated. The bannerless, the crownless, the forgotten, caught between waking and vanishing. Some tried to follow. Some screamed. And some simply watched. They fell into the real world like shooting stars. Kalen hit hard. Real dirt, real blood in his mouth, lungs struggling against air that tasted like ash and steel and truth. No more dream magic to protect him. No soft bends in time, just gravity, pain, and weight. Lyra collapsed beside him, wings fading, her form still burning faintly, but human once more. They were back in the ruins of the old world. Mountains blackened by war, cities half swallowed by earth, the remnants of the hollow flame still whispering in cracks between realms. And on the horizon, a new banner flew. Not Darius's, not Kalen's, but a white sun on a field of crimson. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Someone filled the void. Kalen pushed himself up. Someone survived. Chapter 14. The Rise of the White Sun. They moved through the ruins, careful, silent, hearts pounding. People still lived here, in broken towns, half-starved. Some still remembered the days of the Flame War. Most had forgotten magic altogether. But all feared one thing: the Sun-born Dominion. A new order that rose after the veil shattered. Zealots wielding fire, light, and doctrine. They didn't conquer by sword alone. They converted with visions, promises of rebirth, of burning away the past. Kalen watched as a village elder was executed for refusing to kneel. Lyra's hands clenched. They're using light as a weapon, she said. They're using you, Kaylin replied. And from the shadows, a voice answered, Number, they're using what's coming. A figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in dusk, eyes starless. Not forgotten, not keeper, something older. The one who remembers your name, it said to Lyra. The one you forgot. Lyra took a step back. What are you? I am what was left behind. When you rose, you left the gate open. It raised its hand. Reality bent. Kaylin drew his blade, and everything went black. Darkness wasn't empty. It remembered. Kaylin knew this even as he stumbled through it, hands reaching for Lyra, heart hammering like a war drum against his ribs. He couldn't see, couldn't hear, but he felt, like ice curling down his spine, like grief pressing its lips to his ear and whispering things he almost believed. And just beyond that cold, her. Lyra, he shouted, voice cracked, swallowed by the dark. Lyra. No answer. Not at first. Then, soft as ash. He still loves you. Kaylin froze. It wasn't her voice, but it wore her tone. It mimicked the way she spoke when she was afraid, but hiding it behind bravery. The way she sounded when she asked him to stay once, just once, when they were younger and on the run. He turned in the dark, blade raised. Where is she? He snarled. The voice came again, closer now. She left me behind, buried me when she rose, but I remember everything. The girl who cried at the river, the girl who touched the hollow flame, the girl who broke the rules of gods, for you. Kaylin gritted his teeth. You're not her, and I'm not afraid of you. A pause. That's a lie. The dark peeled open, and Kaylin stood in a memory. It was raining, summer storm, cold and hard. A small cottage outside the village of Terrawind. He remembered this place too well. This was the last time he saw Lyra cry. She was 17. He was 19. She had just found out her mother had died. No warning, no farewell. Lyra had stood in the rain, her fists clenched, magic sparking uncontrolled at her fingertips. And Kaylin had walked away. Afraid. Unable to handle her grief. Now, he stood in that same memory, watching his past self retreat down the road as Lyra whispered, Please don't leave. He choked. The real Lyra stepped beside him. Not the memory, the now. She stared at the younger version of herself, small, broken, utterly alone. I forgot this, she whispered. You buried it, Kaylin said, like I did. The darkness pulsed. The being's voice wrapped around them both like chains soaked in sorrow. You left pieces behind when you dreamed yourselves new, but I found them. I fed on them. I grew. And now I want the rest. The storm shattered, and the true form of the being took shape. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't even a god. It was memory rot, a manifestation of the pieces people forget to grieve, the traumas buried, the pain rewritten by magic and love. It had Lyra's first flame, Kaylin's fear, the whispers of every dying king. It remembered everything because they had forgotten. Lyra stepped forward, hair burning with white fire, eyes glowing with fierce sorrow. You aren't me, she said. No, it agreed. I am what you gave up to become her. Then take it, she said. Kaylin turned to her. Lyra, what are you doing? I can't keep running from the parts of me that hurt, that were weak, that needed. She reached for the creature. Kaylin grabbed her hand. If you give it all your pain, it'll devour you. No, she said gently, it will free me. She stepped into the memory, into the darkness, and hugged her younger self. For a moment, everything was still. Then the storm broke. Light tore through the sky like dawn finally arriving after 1,000 years of night. The creature screamed, not in pain but in release, its form unraveled, not in violence but in peace. It wasn't being killed, it was being understood, and it faded. Gone. Kaylin caught her as she stumbled. Her fire was gone. Her wings, too. She looked up at him, eyes red with tears, but brighter than ever. I'm just me again. He held her, forehead pressed to hers. I've never loved you more. But peace never lasts long. As they emerged from the memory realm, the real world greeted them not with warmth, but with war drums. The Sunborn Dominion had arrived, led not by Darius, not by gods, but by the final keeper, one who had stayed silent until now. Veryl's twin, the Unmaker. He wore a crown of molten gold and a cloak of blinding truth. And, as he raised his hand, he spoke only one word. Burn. To continue the story, come back tomorrow night for the exciting adventure of this new world. Again, I hope you have a wonderful night and sweet dreams.